Good day, my beautiful friends. I am so incredibly grateful that you are here today and that your intuition guided you to connect with me and receive this amazing divine download today. You know, it is quite natural to feel a little overwhelmed and a little confused and even sometimes a little chaotic on your healing journey because there are so many conflicting energies swirling all around our collective field right now. And so that's why I'm here today to reflect to you this message. My intention is to bring clarity to what so many of us are going through right now and to help you understand what you're feeling. So this message is for the beings who are extra sensitive enough to feel these subtle shifts that are occurring and who are aware enough to know that something greater is happening in the world at large. So if you are feeling it and you are aware, then this message is for you. That's why I love so much co-collaborating with you guys to bring these messages. Now, in today's message, while I was meditating, I wanted to get a pulse on what is going on and what energies are happening in the Twin Flame Collective. Now, there are different waves of twin flames that have come online at different times. So there are different groups within the whole Twin Flame Collective that are at different points of the Twin Flame timeline. And this message that I received is just for a specific group in that Twin Flame Collective. So when I first went into meditation, I was immediately taken to a hospital, specifically into the ER. And there was a patient being wheeled in abruptly off an ambulance. And the hospital staff and the EMTs were trading information. And they were just going so quick because it was obvious that this patient needed immediate care. So they brought the patient into a room and they closed the curtains off. And in that room, I saw a doctor and a nurse. Now, the doctor was beside the patient and was reviewing symptoms that had been given to him by the paramedics. And he was wanting to immediately start diagnosing the issue so that he could begin some treatment on what was going on. Now, as he was reviewing all of the information given to him by the paramedics, the nurse is standing on the other side of the patient's bed. And she is completely calm, and she was just staring at the patient. And all of a sudden, she interrupts the doctor and tells him that she doesn't believe that what he thinks the problem is actually the problem that the patient is experiencing. She intuitively believes that that's not where they should be looking at, that something else is going on with this patient. Now, the doctor was in his white coat and he had a clipboard and he was actually holding up a sheet of paper from the clipboard, so it's kind of like he was looking at the second page. And he looks up in this way, he looks up at this nurse in this way that was kind of like, "What did you just say to me?" And he gives this little laugh like, "I think I know what I'm doing here, okay? I see facts on this paper. You don't see anything with what you are saying. You are just taking a wild guess. You're just making up stories that it just can't possibly be true," because the doctor could physically see what was in front of him. And the nurse's made up story, quote unquote, did not make sense. So he completely dismissed what the nurse was saying. Now, I want to take a moment and I want to pause and I want to reflect on this vision. If you resonate with the divine feminine energy in the Twin Flame Collective, I want you to put yourself as the nurse in this vision. And if you resonate with the divine masculine in the Twin Flame Collective, I want you to put yourself as the doctor in this vision. Divine Feminine, I want to speak to you today because in this vision, I felt a strong pull that it seems like the masculine, your specific masculine in this Twin Flame Collective, is dismissing some part of you. It's like he cannot see what you see, whether that is with your third eye or your psychic abilities or your incredibly powerful intuition. And because he cannot physically see your intuition or the visions that you have in your third eye, it's like he's completely dismissing that they even exist. He wants to rely on facts, real, material, concrete logic. But here's the thing. In my vision, the patient actually did not respond to the doctor's treatment. The patient was suffering in the exact way that the nurse saw it. So, if the doctor had put down his ego for just a moment and trusted his divine feminine's guidance, they could have solved the issue quicker, easier, and with less suffering from the patient. Now, this particular masculine in this dynamic is very, very used to using logic. Whether this comes from how he has to use logic in his job every single day, or how he was raised, how he saw other masculines demonstrating solving problems. It's almost as though he doesn't even realize that he's suppressing his own divine feminine within him. He has that intuition within himself, but he pushes it down. You know, when he has a hunch or he has this fleeting thought about something that contradicts the concrete facts, he dismisses it within himself, even though it could later come true. And your guides, Divine Feminine, they are wanting you to know that your intuition is real and it's right, especially in this Twin Flame Collective. Don't gaslight yourself that your insights are wrong when the masculine starts questioning you. In my vision, the doctor basically scoffed at the nurse. Like, how are you questioning me? I have more credentials than you. I have been doing this a lot longer than you. I am used to making decisions based on logic, so I know what I'm doing here, okay? And I can actually see some feminines getting enraged that their masculine is not believing them. Okay, so someone's guides just wanted to clarify that this actually doesn't all have to be around intuition, sorry. So this doesn't have to be just about intuition. This can actually be around anything that is non-physical. Okay, got it. So someone's guides are explaining that this is seriously going to be very, very specific to someone. But it's like your masculine is dismissing how you feel about certain things. So not what you can see, but what you feel. Because you can't exactly see an emotion. You can express an emotion. And the masculine can physically see the expression of the emotion on his feminine, but you actually cannot see hurt or pain. You can only see when it's expressed. So if a feminine is hurt and in pain and she isn't expressing it, this masculine has no clue. He doesn't intuitively know that something is up. He's clueless. And I'm also seeing something with the five senses. So you can't physically see the senses. They are only perceived by the person that is experiencing them. So if you smell something really, really good, and let's say a flower or something, and you send a picture to your friend of this beautiful flower, you can describe how good it smells, but you actually cannot capture the scent and send it. And for some reason, I'm seeing a masculine and a feminine eating right now, and the feminine is noticing something is off about the taste of something, but the masculine is dismissing her like she's totally crazy. And in my mind's eye, they both got sick. And that's what your guides don't want happening. They don't want you getting sick because you're not following your intuition. So just because the masculine is dismissing your power here, feminine, you still believe in it. If the food doesn't taste right, don't eat it just because he's doubting you. It's almost like in the past, his doubt has actually made you doubt and then made you feel crazy. So you start thinking, maybe this isn't true, or maybe I'm not feeling what I'm supposed to be feeling, or, maybe he's right and I should just listen to him. And all of a sudden, so many examples are flooding my mind. I'm so sorry. When I leave this open, there's all kinds of things that come through. So I do want to share some of the things that are coming through because they may be significant for someone. And I just saw 222 on the timer. So someone shared with me a story that has always stuck with me about the power of the divine feminine's intuition. So she was in the military and they were overseas, and they were having to cross a path out in the open, which was incredibly dangerous. And I cannot remember what country they were in, but I know it was somewhere in the Middle East. And so she's actually in combat, okay? And they are in the enemy's territory and trying to get to a different spot. They are going in a straight line, like one lined up behind another, and they're out there in this, they start walking out into the open. And it's really an awful thing because you have no idea, because citizens are still out and about in this open area, like they don't have anywhere to go. So as someone in the army, you don't really know if a citizen could hurt you, if they're just totally innocent in this, or if they are under disguise as someone that can hurt you. You really have absolutely no idea. And this woman was actually in the back of the line, and her commander and other men were in front of her. Now, her commander, the leader of the group, did have a radio where he could talk to his partner that had already made it to the other side, and the partner could give him instructions. And the woman explained to me that she just knew something wasn't right because she could feel it. And even though the other group had made it to the other side, and that this particular group that she was in had only been on the ground for minutes, okay? It hadn't been very long. She had already realized through her intuition that something didn't feel right. And the leader, his radio that he was using actually started losing frequency. So he couldn't talk to the other person on the other side clearly. So he stopped the line that they were all moving in, and he was waiting for his device to begin working again before they continued, because he thought this is what he needed to do to make sure his group was safe. And while they were waiting, the woman suddenly realized that there were absolutely no women or children anywhere near them, that everyone she saw was a man. And that's when she confirmed in the physical what she had known all along. They were about to walk into a line of fire. So I cannot stress this enough, how much value a feminine has. But it's like this masculine collective and this twin flame dynamic cannot, quote unquote, see it. They cannot see the value. They can't see your intuition. So they have to create all of these physical devices to help them stay safe. When really, a feminine only needs her sense. She doesn't need all of those gadgets because she can sense when something is off. And this is just like you, feminine. No matter what you sense, you are feeling, whether it's emotions or intuition, whether it's your hearing, your tasting, your smelling, you are feeling that something's off. If something's off, you know. This masculine is going to have to heal this part of him where he doesn't fully trust you and your gifts. You are his compass to navigate this world. He has to realize this. It reminds me of a time, I wasn't even particularly going to share this, but it just came through, so I want to share it in case it overlaps or has meaning for someone. So there was this time where me and my boyfriend were sitting in his truck. We had gotten some food and we were just sitting in this parking lot in his truck, and we were just eating and talking. It was just a good day to spend some time together. And as we are eating, all of a sudden, I saw this black smoke all around his truck. And his truck was saying, I'm ready to retire. I won't be working much longer. Actually, the truck really said, I'm ready to retire to green pastures. It didn't want to be smashed and sent to a junkyard. It wanted to be left in a field, which this man lived on a farm, so it was perfectly capable of having that in its life. And now, because I am intuitive, I knew that this masculine didn't understand fully my intuitive capabilities. And I was so scared to tell him the message that I received, okay? So while he's over there talking about something, I have no idea, because I was over, like literally over in my seat, having a whole conversation with myself about whether I should tell him what this truck just said or whether I should not. Part of me was like, no, don't tell him, because he's not going to listen. He's not going to believe you. He's not going to believe that you have some skill that just saw this imaginary black smoke surround his truck. But it really was like a smoke of death. And then there was the other part of me that was like, no, you need to tell him, because you don't want him to be without a vehicle, because this one is going to die soon. So even though he had a blacked out truck, I felt like she was feminine. So I'm going back and forth. Well, I finally decide, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tell him. And if he thinks I'm crazy, then he thinks I'm crazy. But at least I got the message out to him. And you know what he did? He basically laughed like the doctor did in my vision. And he patted his dashboard and was like, this truck isn't going anywhere. She's running perfect. And I was just like, okay. Well, it wasn't 2 days later. He calls me randomly during the day, which wasn't like him because he usually works during the day. And I guess some part on his truck broke and caused him to not be able to shift gears. So he needed to be picked up where he broke down because he had to go get a part. And it wasn't maybe 3 days after that, we went somewhere and we were sitting at a traffic light, a red light, and all of a sudden his brake line got a hole in it and it starts spewing this stuff and his brakes stopped working, which, you know, I was totally impressed with my masculine because he knew how to drive his truck with no brakes at all the way home, because I would have straight panicked if that happened. So, you know, when it happens, I casually mention, because this hadn't happened too long ago where I had that vision of the black smoke. I just casually mentioned to him, I'm like, you know, don't you think she's about ready to retire? And he said, oh, no, she's just fine. Now, At that moment, that's when I rolled my eyes and I smiled, because I was like, she is trying to communicate to you that she is ready to retire and not work so hard. But he would not listen. Even when things were still happening in the physical, he still dismissed it. So feminines, have your masculines ever put you in a situation like this? Where you knew ahead of time what was going to happen and he just kept dismissing you? Well, don't you know, in about a month's time, it did take about a month, he went out one day and she just would not start. And there he sat all day without a vehicle. Now, if he would have just listened to my intuition in the first place, all of this nonsense could have been prevented. Just like with the patient in the hospital. In the end, if the doctor would have listened to the nurse from the get-go, all of the unnecessary work that was done to the patient could have been prevented. So feminines, please, please, please don't doubt your intuition. Don't let the masculine make you feel crazy for what you experience. We are opening up a new world for the collective where feminines will be seen for the value that they hold and not constantly dismissed. And the Twin Flame Collective are on the front line to bring the rest of the collective into this new world. So I want to remind you that you are a very, very, very powerful feminine during this particular time on Earth. You are here for a reason, not by chance, not by accident. You are here to lead others into the new Earth. And I do want to thank you for putting in all of the hard work and listening to your intuition and building trust with it so that you can lead others, regardless if others doubt you. The fact that you even clicked on this video, that you're listening to my voice right now in this exact moment, shows that your intuition is at work enough to know what you needed to hear today. And that is something deeper than coincidence guiding you. So give yourself a hug. And I want to personally thank you, feminine, for co-collaborating with me today on this beautiful message for the collective to hear, because it really needed to come out. Mwah.